What if World War III happened tomorrow? We have obviously had world wars in the past, but if World War III were to occur, it's likely to be the biggest, deadliest battle we've seen yet. Higher populations, advanced technology, and better strategies are just a few of the reasons why. There are so many questions surrounding what a World War III would look like, so let's logistically take a peek. We can all be grateful we haven't had to live through a World War III, but we can always ask ourselves, what if? Talks of World War III have been happening basically since the second one ended, but the third one will likely be nothing like the second for a few reasons. The world has changed a lot since 1945, and sometimes that involves changes in ways that we don't necessarily realize. It is most certainly possible that if a third world war were to occur, there would be less countries participating than previous world wars, and that simply is because countries aren't as closely allied as they once were, and the reason so many countries participated in World War II was in part because of the colonial powers controlling them. This means that it's likely there would be more countries opting to stay neutral rather than getting involved and declaring war. Another reason it would likely be very different is because of how far we have come with technology. I mean, with satellites, drones, nuclear weapons that could blow the entire world up. I mean, a world war could be fought in space now if we really wanted. We could have armies of robots fighting each other instead of men. A country doesn't even have to be invaded anymore. Just get some of the most brilliant minds to hack into another country's computers and boom, you can wreak a lot of havoc. Things just aren't the same as they were during the last World War, and that makes the situation all the more precarious. The two main questions people have when it comes to a third world war are, how will it start and how will it end? Let's answer the second question first. Realistically, a third world war will likely end in carnage and fire. If even one country uses a nuclear weapon, what's to stop another one from doing so? And that vicious cycle continues on, and that's a terrifying thought. During World War II, the United States dropped nuclear bombs on Japan, and this left 100,000 people dead. The weapons that were used then are a fraction of the strength of the ones that exist now. There is no amount of planning or resources that could prepare a country for that kind of devastation. It takes decades to recover, if it's even possible. Every leading country in the world has these types of weapons at their disposal. If nuclear battle really is what ends World War III, the world will never be the same, and I mean that on a lot of different levels. The people who are still alive to see the end of the war, the Earth itself, our ways of life, the habitable places on this planet, it would be an entirely different world. How would World War III start? Well, there's a lot of tension going on in the world right now, so there's a few options for us to look at. Recently, World War III talks have come up more often because of the concerns regarding the recent friction over the Taiwan Strait. But this isn't the only place that a war could possibly erupt. People have been worried about the United States and Iran relationship when it was recently reported by the UN's nuclear watchdog that Iran was producing tons of uranium metal, which is what is used as fuel in nuclear reactors. A bad relationship between these two countries could be quite a problem because if things escalate, Iran could block the Strait of Hormuz, which hosts the travel of 30% of the world's oil. So that would be a huge hurdle for the United States and its allies, and it could put the United States in a really terrible position because higher global oil prices is not something people will take lightly. Tensions between the United States and Turkey have been on the rise in recent years, and that is with a past checkered with complexities. There have been 5 different crises recently that have tested the US-Turkey relationship, which includes Turkey's purchase of the Russian-made S-400 missile defense systems and the ensuing US sanctions on Turkey. Things only worsened when the Turkish president suggested that he had plans for Turkey that involved nuclear weapons, and people began to worry that this may have an impact on the North Atlantic Alliance. We have all heard of the tumultuous relationship between the United States and North Korea, and things have really not slowed down. North Korea accused Joe Biden of pursuing a hostile policy against them, and warned that a response could leave the United States in a quote, very grave situation. These explosive comments were made after President Biden delivered a policy speech to Congress in which he discussed the threat posed by the North Korean and Iranian nuclear programs. He stated that they must be addressed through quote, diplomacy and stern deterrence. The United States-North Korea relationship is a matter of national security in part because North Korea is a nuclear power, but also because of North Korea's own complex relationship with China. And not to mention mention the outright threats that have come from the North Korean Supreme Leader Kim Jong-un himself. He has claimed that North Korea's weapons could now reach United States territories and mainland. This brings us to the complicated relationship that the United States has with China. Once the pandemic hit, the issues between the country became less about trade and more about issues of security, things in the high-tech sector, and ideologies. The trade war initially started when former President Donald Trump accused China of unethical conduct. Just a few months ago, the world stood shocked as the nation of Afghanistan was sent into a state of crisis when Taliban fighters stormed the capital. Kabul was the last major city to fall, which caused a ripple effect of panic throughout the region. United States President Joe Biden did admit that the situation unfolded more rapidly than expected after he made the decision to remove US troops from Afghanistan, but he also stood by his decision. Instead, he shifted the attention and blamed Afghan leaders for the collapse. And these are just the conflicts that the United States has a hand in, but they are by no means the only issues currently ongoing in our world that might be the cause for the rising of another world war. Tensions between Iran and Israel have also been a point of conversation recently, although the feud stems back quite a few years. India and Pakistan have had a declining relationship for the last 10 years, which has left the countries on the brink of war. Since the partition of British India, which split the two countries, they have been involved in a series of wars and conflicts with moments of peace sprinkled in between. This just goes to show a fraction of the complicated issues our world currently faces, and sometimes tensions rise so high that it seems like a war breaking out is only a matter of time. I mean, we didn't even have a second to talk about one of the biggest powerhouses in the world, Russia, and all of the large issues surrounding that country. It's entirely possible that the war would start over a lack of resources. Maybe it'll be gold, maybe it'll be food, maybe it'll be land, but many people speculate it'll be water. It has been estimated that in the event of a World War III, billions of people would lose their lives. I think a quote by Albert Einstein does a really wonderful job at wrapping up this whole thing. Quote, "I know not with what weapons World War III will be fought, but World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones." There are so many volatile areas, countries, and groups that are all chomping at the bit to show off their military power. It is really hard to pin down just what exactly might do it. One simple mistake, or one person letting their ego cloud their judgment, could send the entire world into chaos and destruction. It would take years, if not decades, to rebuild and get to a place where we once were. Thank you guys for checking out today's video. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on more. Stay curious, LBQ fam, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye!